The moment that things really changed for me was when actually I was leaving India, and I felt that not only had I known as I arrived in India that something in me would never be the same, I would say that as I was leaving India, I knew that I was needing to come back and that I would need to figure out how to make India part of my life more permanently and more regularly. And the actuality of it didn't become clear until I returned home to America. And when I had the realization that I should return to Varanasi and that I should try to work with the village women in the Women Empowerment Project that at that time was being run by the Krishnamurti Foundation. And it really didn't occur to me until I was coming down the mountain in my hometown, Ojai, and I had this realization of like, oh my gosh, I went to visit these women in this village and could see their beautiful work, and that applying a more yogic business model of engaging with them and encouraging them and then allowing them to earn their own income could be a really fulfilling project, not just for them but for me also, as well as bringing me back to India more regularly. So as I came down the mountain, called my dear friend Kira up, and I said, I have this idea, I want to, work in Varanasi with this women's project. And she said, absolutely, this sounds incredible. You should totally do it. And since I was a yoga teacher mainly at that time, I said, well, how am I going to do this? I don't have a big savings or anything. And she said, well, let's have a benefit and see if we can bring our friends together and support you in this first big step towards doing this project. And so within, I would say, 6 weeks, we had planned a special dinner. A dear friend of mine did a kirtan at the event. We sold tickets to it. We sold 100 tickets. And within 4 months, I was headed back to Varanasi to start this project with the women outside of the city and the village. And it was basically, I mentioned this before, Sabin, but it was like I arrived at the worst time of year really to start anything new because it was the rainy season. And in those days, we would have to cross the Varuna Sangam, where the Varuna and the Ganga meet each other by boat, because the little rickety bridge would get washed out every year. So the commute would involve always taking a boat across. So that was really, I would say, where it all changed. And on that second trip back now to Kashi, I realized, wow, as I sat with these women, I realized I'll never gain their trust unless I come back more regularly, and I need to speak to learn the language to communicate with them, because there has clearly been so much experience here. There would be almost a mistrust of me if, like, I have this opportunity to gain trust, so why wouldn't I invest in it by coming back again and again? And in the meantime, I was needing to explore the city in a way that really no foreigner probably almost ever has, besides maybe Diana Eck, who wrote the book about it, which was, I would, have to go into the most smallest gullies to find the button man or the zipper man, or go find threads, because nobody in the village had ever done that, because they, spend most of their time there and they don't get the opportunity to leave and go and explore as much. So as I was venturing out and having to find my way, it created a whole other level of exploration, and really, I would say, an absolutely beautiful opportunity to see parts of the city that are very much off the beaten path. And so as I got to know more local people and experience beyond, this typical kind of tourist path around the Ghats, so much opened up to me. And in the strangeness of maybe how foreign a city like Kashi is to someone coming from the Western world, even someone who has experienced so much of the South Asian tradition up to that point, there was just this receptivity in me to experience it and be open to it as much as possible, and also to receive people and to show up from a place of respect and cultural sensitivity.